Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Bullet. I'm Paul Lathrop. Joining me today is the president and managing editor of the New Jersey Second Amendment Society. A lot of us call it NJ2AS, Alexander Roubian. If you've been to SHOT Show, you've probably run into him. If you've been to Gun Rights Policy Conference, you've definitely run into him. Alexander, thanks for joining us today, man.
Thanks for having me on.
So these first times we have people on, I want to introduce people and the groups that they represent. New Jersey Second Amendment Society, what is NJ2AS and how did it get started?
Well, it started in 2010 due to the frustrations of gun owners in New Jersey of all the bad laws, all the bad prosecution occurring to innocent people making honest mistakes and being threatened to be put in jail for over 7 to 10 years. And a group of gun owners got together and said enough is enough, mobilized, formulated NJ2AS. The original president and founder was Frank Fiamingo. And ever since then, we've been very productive and very effective in fighting back and stopping bad bills from becoming laws in New Jersey and making New Jersey a somewhat better state for the Second Amendment.
Well, when people think New Jersey, they don't exactly think a bastion of firearms freedom or freedom in general. You guys have had some successes. Talk about a few of the things that NJ2AS has been able to accomplish.
Well, starting back in 2010, we were very effective at making our voices heard as proud Americans, proud gun owners, proud supporters of the Constitution and Bill of Rights, and stopping a lot of bad bills from becoming laws. Believe it or not, hundreds and hundreds of proposed laws and bills came before the New Jersey legislature to become law, and we were very effective in stopping that from happening. Also, in New Jersey, we have a permitting scheme where we have to go and beg our police departments for permission to be able to buy guns, where then they issue a permit and a permission slip for you to be able to go to a gun store, get another background check, the same one done again, so that you can buy a firearm. And we were very effective in having those delays reduced down to less than 30 days. We also were very effective in having that entire process modernized, so now it's predominantly computerized, where before it was all paper-driven. Also, a lot of police departments would mandate that you provide a lease agreement, some type of proof of employment, permission from your spouses, and so forth. All these were illegal under New Jersey law. And when we would approach the police departments about this, they would say they're just following protocol and the rules. So when we asked for a copy of the rules, they said, no, we're not giving it to you. We ended up suing the state of New Jersey and ultimately winning a copy of what's called the Firearm Investigative Manual, which is standard operating procedure in the New Jersey State Police and local police departments, and being awarded almost $200,000 in reimbursement of our legal fees because that violated our rights. We also went after a lot of the bad towns that were breaking the law, requiring gun owners to get fingerprinted every 2 years. That was another violation. We successfully overturned that. We also got a lot of individuals pardoned under Governor Christie at the time that were innocent people making honest mistakes that were facing the wrath, or if not, they were already in jail and prosecuted for violating the so-called New Jersey gun laws, common sense gun laws. And to kind of elaborate on that a little bit, people have to understand that in New Jersey, this is what they want to make a national law. In New Jersey, you're only allowed to possess your firearm in your home, your place of business, or at the gun range. And you have to make a direct route. No reasonable deviations are allowed. So if you stop to get a bite to eat, get medication, stop to use the bathroom, stop to refuel your vehicle on the way to a gun range with your firearms unloaded, locked in the trunk of your car with ammunition in separate containers, that will face 3 to 5 years in New Jersey.
Wow.
And we were able to fight that and have the Governor Christie at the time do an executive order and have the Attorney General sign a directive that stated that you can make reasonable deviations and listed out what you're allowed to do, that you can stop for fuel, you can stop for food and so forth, picking up and dropping off passengers. and that was a very successful thing. Now, I don't want to bore you because we could talk for hours about our successes. All these stories and more are on NJ2AS.org/news, or just visit NJ2AS.org. You'll see the news section there, and we have a big section dedicated to all of our success stories. But ultimately, there are success stories in New Jersey. You do have victories in behind enemy states like New Jersey, and we like to help other organizations and now nationally to teach people on how to fight back and how to be an effective activist and results-oriented activism.
Very cool. Now, I want to go to the very introduction. I introduced you as the president and managing editor of NJ2AS. There's a story behind that. Could you bring our viewers and listeners up to speed on why you became more than just president, also managing editor?
Absolutely. It's a great question. About 5 years ago, we realized, as don't be surprised, a massive bias in the New Jersey media and national media when it comes to talking about and covering our Second Amendment rights. So we launched our own news department. We spend a lot of resources, time, and training and production value to make us the best news organization in New Jersey and nationally to cover a lot of Second Amendment topics. We covered Governor Christie at the time. We covered recently Governor Murphy a lot for the past 3 years. About 4 or 5 months ago, the governor got sick and tired of my questioning because he was getting a lot of negative publicity nationally from the types of responses he was giving to my questions. And ultimately, he kicked me out, had his armed guards surround us and make sure we weren't allowed into the building and kick us out. And revoking our press access. We ended up suing the governor. We ended up prevailing. We're about to make a major announcement about a nice big 5-figure check the government of New Jersey is writing in regard to our legal victory because they did not want this going to court. We ended up settling out of court, but it is a nice big fat check. Unfortunately, the taxpayers were paying it, but this is why it's adamant that organizations like yourself, organizations like NJ2AS News and other Second Amendment outlets to get to these events, cover them in the objective light that we always provide, opposed to the biased, slanted, anti-American, anti-Second Amendment view. But this is a major victory, not only for the Second Amendment, but also for the First Amendment. And it really goes to show, as many of your national watchers and readers realize, the extensive bias. They hate the Second Amendment. They also hate the First Amendment. They don't want you to have the right to free speech. The only free speech that they believe in is in their free speech. And that's why it's adamant. And it was very, very important that we fought back the governor. We prevailed. We're getting a big fat check, not only to cover our legal fees, but also to reimburse me for my damages for violating my First Amendment right. And once that announcement's made on our website, you can go to our website, NJ2AS News, and sign up for our newsletters. So we'll be releasing it in the next week or two, the major announcement, and you'll be the first to get it.
Very cool. So you, as part of this settlement, I'm guessing you now have press credentials again and are allowed back to question His Royal Highness? Very nice.
This is our New Jersey issued press credentials right there that they revoked and prevented us from getting.
Nice.
It cost the state a lot of money to have kicked us out, but that's what we fought for. They do not allow, and this is really a big sham, the entire process. Why we even need to ask for permission? Because of Paul, if you wanted to come to New Jersey and cover Second Amendment news, if there were issues happening here, you would not be allowed access. And before, you used to be able to go to the state police barracks in the State House, ask permission the same day and get it. But surprise, surprise, when Governor Murphy was elected and sworn into power, he immediately changed the rules and said that his office has to approve the individuals that are given press credentials. And I wonder why. I mean, it's such a scam, and it's a massive slap in the face of our founding fathers and our Bill of Rights that he gets to cherry pick who is allowed to come in and out of the press conferences. But I guess they learned the hard way that their rules are violating people's First Amendment rights. And that's a whole other story if that part of the rules are unconstitutional. But, it's a major victory for the First Amendment and the Second Amendment because we had the right to be there. We had the right to ask the questions that we believe are best suited for the Second Amendment coverage, and we won.
That is so awesome. So, what are some other? I'm starting to get splashback again. What are some other challenges that you have that you're working on with NJ2AS right now?
Well, I believe the challenges that we're facing as a state is now becoming the challenges that the nation is facing. We've been saying it for years that what happens in New Jersey does not stay in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And now the Democrat platform and the left want to use New Jersey's gun laws as a platform and as a model of what to do nationally. So we're working with a lot of other state organizations on fighting against anti-American, anti-Second Amendment platforms from building up and becoming law in their state. But predominantly, I think it's the biggest issue we're facing right now is what everyone's facing is the ammo shortage, the ability to be able to fire firearms. It's actually disheartening to find out how much of raw materials China manufactures for ammunition manufacturing, for firearm manufacturing. I think there's going to be there is a massive void right now in regard to the supply chain for those raw materials, and that's going to really open up a big opportunity for entrepreneurs to be able to fill that void because no nation, putting aside America, no nation should be dependent on another nation for being able to manufacture firearms and ammunition for the right to self-defense.
Oh, I agree. And I'm sure you're aware, but I don't know if our viewers are, that most of the lead that goes into the ammunition in the United States comes from China. It used to be a fairly good mix, but the lead mines that were in Arkansas and New Mexico closed down under the previous administration because of environmental issues.
Environmental issues.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's the great cover up in regard to why they do those things. We know why they closed down all the lead smelting plants, and just ironically, this is what the previous administration wanted to do, and they found a good excuse to do it. And that really goes to show you don't have to look past New Jersey. They do everything in their power to infringe on your Second Amendment rights. They do everything to try to make it as difficult as possible, as time-consuming as possible. We have people waiting 6 months, 8 months, a year for a police department to do a background check, which they call instant,
right,
and be able to issue you your gun permit. And we've documented in 2015, we did undercover investigations where we found police officers, we documented on video that you can see on our website and our YouTube channel of police officers saying, I don't think you should own a gun. I don't think you have the right to own a gun. I don't believe in the Second Amendment, and we're not going to issue your permit. Take me to court. And then he boasts about the fact that when they go to court, the judge always sides with them. So now in these certain areas, the Second Amendment is only afforded to those that can, A, go through the bureaucracy and be able to afford expensive attorneys to be able to go to court and fight for your rights.
Or perhaps make political contributions in the right areas.
Oh, absolutely. That's another very valid point because in New Jersey, nobody gets a concealed carry permit. And the only people that we've documented and we've discovered that have concealed carry permits are either politicians, judges, and their friends. And that's a very valid and accurate point, and that we've documented on undercover video.
All right. Well, we're just about up on the end of the interview here. Before we go, you do not have to be a New Jersey resident to be a member of NJ2AS. If somebody is interested in helping out in one of the most challenged states for our Second Amendment rights, how can they become a member?
You can go to NJ2AS.org. We have members, hundreds, if not thousands of members nationwide. It's very encouraging to our staff and our volunteers when they see the messages coming in from people in other states, and what I like to call normal states, free states, talking about how they believe what we're fighting for and what we're fighting against, and they want to become a member and they join. And something I always say is that the Second Amendment violated anywhere in America is violating the Second Amendment everywhere in America. And just because we're in New Jersey does not mean that they won't try to violate your Second Amendment rights in your state.
Well, very cool. Well, thank you so much, Alexander, for joining us today. I know we're going to have you back again soon, and anytime you have something you need to release to the public, let me know. We'll get you on.
Thanks for having me on.
Folks, we're going to go ahead and shut this one down. Join us tomorrow for another Daily Bullet.